Avi Meyer's Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. You can see all our election videos on the web. We urge you to vote. It's this coming Tuesday, November 6th. Depending on you're watching, it may be too late for early voting. Jewish Chicago, which I publish, is out on the streets. If it's already gone from your location, which it very well could be at this time, please go to the web at www.aviworld.com. You'll be able to see it. Now, for many of you who've been watching the show through the year, and first of all, I want to thank my ace PR man, Ed McElroy, for arranging our next guest. But for those of you who watch the show, you know we put a particular emphasis on judicial candidates and judges. And during this particular election cycle, we've actually had over 40 different judges on the show. And we urge you, there's only two real contested races that we write about, the Supreme Court and the 12th District for Andrea Schleifer, who we urge you to vote for. There are 59 people running for judicial retention. We'll explain that in a minute. Now, we urge you to start at the bottom of the ballot and work your way up, because what a judge does is so important to your life. We're talking literally. He can take your home. He can take your children. He can grant you custody of your children. He can give you freedom, take away your freedom. He can even take your life under certain circumstances. Or she. You know, I got two guys here, so that's why I'm saying he. So in any event, there's very little that's ever going to affect you more in your lifetime than what a judge can possibly do for you. Now, there are 59 candidates running for retention. 9 of those candidates have a well-qualified, which is the highest possible mark from the Chicago Bar Association, and we're fortunate to have 2 of those people here today. And I'd like to introduce you to Judge Moshe Jacobius. How are you?
How are you?
And Judge Stuart Palmer. How are you?
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
My pleasure. And why don't the 2 of you tell us a little bit about your backgrounds and what you're doing in court right now?
Why don't you go ahead, Stuart?
Well, as far as my background goes, I grew up on the north side of the city of Chicago in Budlong Woods, and I'm a graduate of Mather High School, and went to the University of Illinois, and have my law degree from Northwestern University. I've been a judge for almost 19 years now, and just recently in January I was appointed to the Illinois Appellate Court by the Supreme Court, and I've been working on appellate cases for that time since January. And before that I was working in the Chancery Division under the supervision of Judge Jacobius, and before that for 12 years I was in the criminal courts. So I've been in and around the courts for a long time. And I should say, before I became a judge, I was an attorney and also a prosecutor for a number of years.
Judge Jacobius?
Well, my background is, first of all, I was born in Israel. I came when I was 10 years old to the United States. I went to the University of Illinois as well, in Chicago at Circle. I had a master's in history. I worked for the Attorney General's office for 17 years. I was appointed by the Supreme Court in 1991 to be a judge, and I've been a judge for almost 22 years. For 20 of those years, almost, I was the judge assigned to the Domestic Relations Division, which is the divorce division as it's usually known, and they also do child support matters. And for 10 of those 20 years, I was the presiding judge, which means I was in charge of over 40 judges.
Wow.
in that capacity. And as Judge Palmer has just said, for the last 2 years approximately, I've been chief or presiding judge of the Chancery Division. And we do all the foreclosures in Cook County, but we do a lot of very complex, complicated cases, such as class actions, injunctions, declaratory judgments with insurance coverage, and things that are very, very complex.
Wow. So that's very impressive backgrounds. You're talking about, so appellate court judge, supervisory judge. I mean, that's big time stuff. Not to mention the highest possible marks that any retention judge can possibly get. So there are 59 judges on the ballot total. 54 have really good marks from the Bar Association. One, John Egan, that I want to point in Jewish Chicago, got bad marks only because he retired and was still on the ballot, and the Bar Association has a policy, no matter what, that they give somebody non-recommended marks if they don't show up. So, which I didn't know. So anyway, what is the retention process? How does that work?
The retention process basically is that once you're elected, you have to be elected as a full circuit judge. We also have the associate judge, but they're elected by the other judges. So now we're just talking about the 260 approximately judges that are elected by the citizenry of Cook County, and they have to run for retention every 6 years, which means that they have to get 60% of people voting in their race have to say yes, and to maintain their position and to stay on the bench. So that so every 2 years you have approximately a third of the judges running for retention.
Now, that's 60%, so you need a pretty good majority, and so many people skip the ballot. There's so many people with negative attitudes that automatically want to vote no for anybody that's on the ballot. So it's a battle to get the rest and to make people aware of these things. And the fact of the matter is, God forbid a really good judge gets left off. There aren't enough judges now. So, you need every single possible good judge you can get. So from my standpoint, the 54 guys with good marks, I mean, absolutely vote for every single last one of those. And the 5 that don't, are enumerated in Jewish Chicago. And I think I just found another mistake in the issue. I think I might have written 10 years and not 6 years, but it's every 6 years.
Right.
Interesting. I just wanted to comment. It is true statistically that that the number of votes cast at the top of the ballot starts with the greatest number of votes cast, and as you go down the ballot to the end of the retention ballot, has the fewer number of votes cast. So it's true that the total number of votes cast dwindles as you go down the ballot. So I appreciate your suggestion that people start at the bottom of the ballot and work their way up. That's a very interesting suggestion.
Well, frankly, I think it's, I'm sorry, go ahead, but it makes sense. I mean, hey, you guys are going to have a bigger effect than these other guys.
I think what you said is so true, that judges have such a huge effect on people's lives, especially in my experience in divorce court and now with the mortgage foreclosures. But I just want to say, a lot of people ask us all the time, how do I get information about judges? How do I find out? Because I don't know everything about them. We have a website, cookcountyjudges.com, cookcountyjudges.com. You can go on there, you can check to see the backgrounds of our various, and the biographies of our various candidates. And I certainly suggest that those that are watching do that to get more informed and to become aware of the backgrounds of the judges.
No, I think it's very important, and you can also go. You can go to the Chicago Bar Association, get various ratings. You can go to Jewish Chicago. We didn't enumerate every single name because there weren't enough people. And by the way, I didn't realize Judge Palmer was Jewish, and I would have put him on otherwise. I found out from Ed McElroy. I also want to mention Mary Kay Dawson also, by the way. When I found out from him, my first call was to the Decalogue Society saying, how come you don't tell me who's Jewish? Because I really want to mention everybody. In a Jewish paper, you really should mention the Jewish judges. You think it's logical. I forgive
That's
you,
somewhat
Michael.
dismaying because as I said, I grew up on the north side in Budlong Woods, and my temple was Mikra Kodesh Anshe on Foster in California, which unfortunately is not there anymore.
No, it's not there anymore. As a matter of fact, Rabbi Irving Miller was the brother of my uncle's second wife. So I know about that place. Yeah. We've got about a minute and a half, so you guys talk about what you want here.
Well, what struck me as we sat and talked a little bit before we started is I'm sitting next to Moshe, who's a man who I have the greatest admiration for. Together, we have over 40 years judicial experience. And if you look at all the other judges that are running for retention, years and years of judicial experience. And what that is made up of is not just the experience of working in the courtrooms, but many people don't know that when judges they delve deeply into their careers, and they're concerned about their careers, continue our education. We're continually going to seminars to better ourselves, to better the way we work, and we teach to other judges to make sure that their careers get off to a good start and continue to grow. And all that experience rolled in together, I think, is something to be taken into account.
I just want to express also my great admiration for Stuart. He's absolutely one of our best judges, and he has a very, very high position. And I would be remiss, both of us would be, if we didn't thank you for the time and support you've given to the judges over the years, and especially in this election. And thank you so much for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And one of the things I enjoy the most about interviewing judges, they are such, as these two guys prove, they are such a higher quality group of people than almost all the other people on the ballot. So anyway, I want to thank you very much, Judge Stuart Palmer.
Thank you.
Judge Moshe Jacobius.
Thank you so much.
Make sure you vote for these guys on the retention ballot. I want to thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hirsch. And I want to thank all of you for joining us. Pick up Jewish Chicago. We're out of time. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.